Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the world of AI
Oh, yeah,
and how it's shaking up the stock market,
definitely.
focusing on Nvidia
Uh,
and their crazy quest to hit a $4 trillion valuation.
Ambitious.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Our main source for this deep dive is an article from the Motley Fool, and they're predicting some pretty wild stuff.
Like what?
Well, they think Nvidia could actually become the world's first $4 trillion company,
Wow.
even with some serious competition popping up.
Competition. Like who?
A Chinese startup called DeepSeek. They're claiming to develop AI similar to,
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, exactly.
Right.
But at a fraction of the cost.
Interesting. So how's that affecting Nvidia?
It's definitely spooked some investors.
Makes sense.
Nvidia's market cap has actually dropped by almost $600 billion since late January 2025.
Oof. That's a big hit.
It is, and it's a pretty stark contrast to what we saw just a few months earlier between, let me check my notes, November 2022 and January 2025. Nvidia's stock was on fire. It surged by a whopping 743%.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
What was driving that growth?
Everyone was going crazy for AI.
Right.
And Nvidia was seen as the top dog.
The one to beat.
Exactly. They were providing all the essential hardware to power these new AI applications.
So they were like the picks and shovels of the AI gold rush.
Exactly. But then, boom, DeepSeek enters the scene.
And the market freaks out.
Pretty much.
Classic case of investor jitters, I'd say. But I think this whole thing might be a bit overblown.
Really? Why is that?
Well, remember that economic principle we talked about before? The Jevons paradox.
Refresh my memory.
It basically says that when something becomes more efficient and cheaper, people actually end up using more of it,
Okay.
not less.
So you're thinking DeepSeek making AI development more affordable could actually lead to a wider adoption of AI?
Exactly. And who benefits from more AI being used?
Nvidia. Because they're the ones making the powerful chips needed to run all those AI systems.
Bingo! So DeepSeek, instead of being a threat, could actually end up boosting NVIDIA's growth.
That's a really interesting take. So the Motley Fool article also compares Nvidia's chances of hitting that $4 trillion mark to two other giants, right? Apple and Microsoft.
The usual suspects.
Right. And they each face some unique challenges, according to the article.
Okay, let's break it down. Let's start with Apple. What's their outlook?
Well, they're pinning a lot of their hopes on the iPhone 16.
Right, their next big release.
Yeah, and its brand new AI assistant, Apple Intelligence.
I've heard some buzz about that. So is that going to be their ticket to $4 trillion?
The Motley Fool folks aren't totally convinced.
Really? Why not?
They say Apple's future is still tied to the iPhone's success.
Which makes sense. They're such a huge part of their business.
Exactly. And while AI is definitely part of their strategy,
Sure.
it's not clear if it'll be enough to push them to that massive valuation.
Interesting. So what about Microsoft? What's their Achilles heel?
They're heavily reliant on their cloud platform, Azure,
Right, their bread and butter.
but the cloud market is incredibly competitive right now.
For sure. You've got Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud.
It's a tough playing field.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard for Microsoft to keep up with investor expectations.
And maintain the crazy growth needed to hit $4 trillion.
Yep. So to recap, we've got Apple tied to the iPhone, Microsoft facing a volatile cloud market,
Yeah.
and then we have Nvidia
Sitting pretty
potentially benefiting from this DeepSeek disruption.
and possibly fueling even wider AI adoption.
It's almost like they're in the perfect position.
It's a pretty sweet spot to be in, especially if this whole cheaper AI development thing takes off.
But the craziest part is their share price only needs to go up by 38% from where it was on February 4th to hit that $4 trillion target.
That's a much smaller jump compared to what Apple and Microsoft would need.
For sure. Plus, their next earnings report is due on February 26th.
Midday.
Yeah, and if it shows strong demand, especially in the AI sector,
That could send their stocks soaring.
and bring them one step closer to that ambitious goal.
It's shaping up to be a fascinating race to the top.
Absolutely. But, we can't forget about the bigger picture here. This DeepSeek thing is just one piece of the AI puzzle.
Right. There's a whole lot more to unpack.
And that's what we're going to explore next.
Yeah.
We need to understand how this potential shift towards more affordable AI could impact industries beyond just chip makers.
And how it might change the global economy as a whole.
Exactly. It's going to be a wild ride, so buckle up.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Hey.
Hashtag TTS, the Deep Dive episode 2025-0210F, part 2 of 3.
So we've talked about how DeepSeek could actually be good news for Nvidia.
Right.
But let's zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
How could this shift towards cheaper AI development affect other industries,
Yeah.
not just the chip makers.
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Right now, building advanced AI is like
Like what?
trying to build a skyscraper.
Okay.
Takes a ton of resources,
Uh-huh.
expertise, and of course,
Money.
money.
Yeah, lots of it.
But DeepSeek coming along and saying, hey, we can do this way cheaper.
Right.
It's like suddenly figuring out a much faster, cheaper way to build those skyscrapers.
Okay, I get the analogy. So instead of just a few companies being able to afford these AI skyscrapers,
Yeah,
now more industries can get in on the action.
exactly. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the Motley Fool article touched on this, but I think it's worth digging into.
Definitely.
Like, what about healthcare?
Oh, yeah. Healthcare is already using AI, but imagine if developing those complex algorithms becomes way cheaper.
Right.
Suddenly, hospitals and research labs,
The ones that couldn't afford it before.
exactly, can
Well,
start
yeah.
using AI for all sorts of things.
Like what?
Like diagnosing diseases earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe
Wow.
developing personalized treatments.
That's incredible.
Right.
So it's not just about businesses doing the same things more efficiently.
Yeah.
It's about opening up totally new possibilities.
Exactly. Things we haven't even thought of yet.
That's wild.
Mhm.
And what about industries that aren't already tech-focused? Could they benefit too?
Absolutely. Take education, for example.
Okay.
Personalized learning has always been the goal.
Yeah.
But what if every student, no matter their background, had access to an AI tutor?
An AI tutor.
Yeah, one that adapts to their learning style and pace.
That would be revolutionary.
It could totally change how we educate future generations.
So this isn't just about stock prices and market caps anymore.
No.
This is about how AI could change the way we live, work, learn.
Exactly. It's about the average person.
Right.
This is about how this tech could change their lives.
It's like that moment when the internet
Yeah.
went from being this niche thing.
For academics and techies
Exactly.
to something that's woven into our daily lives.
Completely integrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like with the internet, there will be challenges and disruptions.
Oh, for sure.
But the potential benefits are huge.
They are.
And we need to stay informed and engaged in this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
one thing that comes to mind is job displacement.
Mhm.
If AI can do more tasks cheaper and faster,
Right.
won't that lead to job losses?
That's a valid concern, and it's something we need to address head on.
Yeah.
As AI gets more sophisticated, some jobs will definitely become automated.
Yeah.
But history has shown us that new technologies also create new jobs.
New jobs
Yeah.
that we can't even predict yet.
Exactly. Like, who would have predicted 20 years ago that social media manager would be a real job?
Exactly. So while some jobs may disappear, others will emerge.
Right.
The key is to be adaptable and to keep learning.
I think that's crucial. We need to equip ourselves with the skills to thrive in this new landscape.
So instead of being afraid of AI,
Yeah.
we should see it as an opportunity
To reimagine how we work.
and to create a future where humans and AI work together to achieve amazing things.
I couldn't agree more. And that brings us back to our main question.
Could Nvidia really become the world's first $4 trillion company?
Based on what we've discussed, it seems like a real possibility.
Yeah.
They're at the forefront of this AI revolution.
Uh-huh.
And this shift towards cheaper AI could really solidify their position.
It's like they're riding this wave.
Yeah.
And if they can navigate the challenges
Yeah.
and adapt to this rapidly changing landscape.
They just might reach that milestone.
Okay.
But the market is unpredictable.
Oh, for sure.
A lot can happen between now and then.
Like what?
Global events,
Right.
new regulations, even unexpected breakthroughs could change the game.
Yeah, okay.
So it's hard to say for certain.
So for our listener who might be thinking, should I invest in Nvidia?
Well, as always, do your own research.
Right.
And don't take financial advice from a podcast.
Right, of course.
But I think the key takeaway here
Yeah.
is that Nvidia is a company to watch closely.
Okay.
They're in a space with massive potential,
For sure.
and their future looks bright.
Especially if this trend of cheaper and more accessible AI keeps gaining momentum.
Exactly. It's fascinating how a potential disruptor like DeepSeek could actually end up boosting the whole AI ecosystem.
Yeah, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits of this shift towards cheaper AI.
Uh-huh.
But what about the risks?
Yeah, that's a really important point.
What do we need to be mindful of as this technology becomes more and more a part of our lives?
That's what we're going to explore next. Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive, episode 2025-0210, part 3 of 3.
It's definitely exciting to think about all the possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, we need to be aware of the potential downsides too.
Right. There are definitely some risks to consider.
Like what are some of the things we should be thinking about as AI becomes more affordable and accessible?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is bias.
Bias.
Yeah, like if the AI algorithms are trained on data that's already biased,
Okay.
they can actually perpetuate and even amplify existing inequalities.
So it's not just about the tech itself, but also about the data it's trained on.
Exactly. And who's creating it?
Right, right.
We've already seen examples of this, like with facial recognition systems.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Some of them are less accurate at identifying people of color.
That's a serious problem.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that's fair for everyone?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's complex, and there are no easy answers.
Okay.
But I think one crucial step is to prioritize diversity.
Diversity.
Yeah, and inclusion in the whole AI development process.
So making sure that the teams building these algorithms represent a wide range of perspectives and backgrounds.
Exactly. It's not enough to just have a bunch of tech geniuses in a room.
You need people from different walks of life with different experiences.
Right. That's how we can start to address these biases.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Are there any other risks we should be thinking about?
Another big one is misuse.
Misuse.
Yeah, as AI gets more powerful
Right.
and easier to get your hands on.
It could be used for bad stuff, you know?
Like what kind of bad stuff?
Well, things like creating deep fakes or automating cyber attacks.
Those are some scary possibilities.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be mindful of.
So it sounds like we really need some ethical guidelines
Oh, yeah, for sure.
and regulations to keep up with all these rapid advancements in AI.
Absolutely. We need to have some serious conversations about how to harness the power of AI for good while mitigating the risks.
And those conversations need to involve everyone.
Exactly. Not just the tech experts and the politicians.
It's like the public needs to be involved too.
We all have a stake in this.
This reminds me of that line from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
It seems like that applies to AI as well.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
We're at a pivotal moment in the evolution of AI.
Yeah.
The choices we make today will have a huge impact on the future.
No pressure, right.
Right. So it's up to all of us to make sure AI is used to benefit humanity. Okay, so for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this,
I know it's a lot to take in.
what's the key message we want them to take away from this deep dive?
I think the most important thing is to avoid getting caught up in the hype
Okay.
or the fear.
Right.
AI is a powerful tool,
Yeah.
but it's just that, a tool.
Okay.
It's up to us to decide how we use it.
So knowledge is power.
Absolutely. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to deal with the challenges.
And to take advantage of the opportunities it presents.
Exactly.
And to bring it back to Nvidia,
Yeah.
they seem to be in a great position to benefit from this AI revolution.
They do, but they also have a responsibility, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, they have to use their influence wisely.
Right, so it's not just about reaching that $4 trillion valuation
No, it's about building a future where AI enhances our lives.
without undermining our values.
Exactly. And that's a future worth fighting for.
Well said. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
As always, we encourage you to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those tough questions.
The future of AI is in our hands.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
See you next time.